Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, welcome to another week, another episode of the Medicine Ball Podcast. You could have chosen to spend your time anywhere. You rock with me today. Thank you. I never take that lightly. Before we get into it, let my beat drop. Yes, that's right. Welcome to Medicine Ball with your boy LS3 to be exact. And if you ain't in shape, at least your brain should be. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Medicine Ball Podcast, where we focus on giving your brain a six-pack by exercising your mind. Now, exercising your mind means that you actively think about and deal with all situations by first seeking to do anything other than what you are normally programmed and or comfortable in doing. Now, if you're someone who struggles and wants to get better at thinking about things beforehand, as opposed to reacting in ways that require less effort, well, just like anything you want to get better at, it does require training, practice, and work. Now, I'm well aware that thinking about things beforehand as opposed to responding off instinct does require effort. And who doesn't prefer things that are easy? Well, the first step, my friends, can be very easy, and that's to begin to look at all things from an unbiased point of view, which in itself will increase your curiosity in life. Now, exercising your mind won't give you all the answers. You will, however, begin to look at things with more peace, understanding, and patience, while simultaneously equipping yourself with more tools and strategies to help you effectively deal with this thing called life. Now, before we go any further, I'm no doctor, no psychiatrist, no psychologist. I have, however, been diagnosed with bipolar disorder level 1 for 16 years. And to be honest, I got to a point in my life where I was looking at the person I was becoming versus the person I wanted to be. And that, among other things, required me to look at my mental health responsibly. So whether or not you're diagnosed or know someone who's diagnosed or have symptoms or just want to know more about it, it doesn't matter. Maybe you're one of the many people who could just use some tips, tricks, and different ideas to help you get through day-to-day life. Pull up a seat, kick up your feet. This is your family, man. Welcome home, no judgment zone. This week's episode 413, pure joy. That's right, pure joy. Let's go. Pure joy. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Let me get into some quick announcements. First things first, as I continue to learn to look at the camera, record simultaneously, and multitask. Wanted to let you guys know a few things. Merchandise has been ordered. I don't know if I've said this previously, but I've officially chosen my brand colors, right? So merchandise has been ordered in those brand colors. It's already been shipped, just waiting on the tracking. Thank y'all for being patient on that. I appreciate y'all. That's coming very, very soon. Mamba, go follow him on Instagram, me as well, Medicine Ball LS3, and Mamba at that guy Mamba, right? On Instagram specifically, man, I put up a reel and it's kind of circulating on TikTok right now, and I guess he's viral at this point. I think it has like literally 20,000 plays. So he's in the process of getting monetized, recorded. I don't know if I've spoken about this. It's been crazy. It's going to be a packed episode, but I finally got my car back. So he's going to get back. We are going to get back into the exercise. That includes visiting Stone Mountain, dog dates, et cetera, exercising, more footage, more good stuff for y'all. Car. So that's what I have on my notes right here. Car life. So I don't know if I mentioned it, but long story short, and I didn't get it for this reason. It was something that, long story short, I have a BMW. Literally, Kelly Blue Book says over 10 years, the average BMW costs $17,000 just to keep up, which is the top of that list, right? Just in the process of me trying to understand what's going on with BMW, I came across a few YouTube videos that literally said why you can't afford a used BMW. That's right. None of them said anything other than that, like 10 of them, why you can't afford a used BMW and just all of the issues and whatnot. Long story short, and this is okay, let me go ahead and get into this, man. I was just going to do the little intro cut, make sure my video was straight, but God got me going. Thank you. February 1st is when I dropped my car off. I knew it had something to do with the overheating, which meant either the water pump, the thermostat, the coolant circulating, air in my coolant system, which for a BMW requires a very, very complicated bleeding process, bad radiator, et cetera, et cetera. After about a month, the guy who, I'm going to shout him out, Indicator, Mario's Beamers, right? Never going back. I don't recommend it. So if anybody's ever seen Seinfeld, there's a Seinfeld episode where they have this episode about this guy in this soup kitchen, and the soup is very good, but the guy is like very like short, temperamental, right? Same way. You could just call this man. He's just, yeah, man, I'm working on a car, man. Lorenzo, what do you want me to do, right? Me like so that was the first call, right? I waited 2 weeks. I called him back, and he acts as if I just called him like 3 days ago. He's like, Lorenzo, what do you want me to tell you? I'm working on your car, man. Just give me some time. Now, in all fairness, he told me that I had 7 cars in front of me when I dropped the car off, which was my fumble. And this is all going to lead into a great story and what I'm going into. It was my fumble because I could have dropped it off like the Friday before because he's not open on the weekend. First flag on the player, right? But when I go to get my AAA, long story short, even though it was paid, it didn't go into renewal until the first, right? This just went how I know when I dropped the car off. That little bump right there cost that many cars to get in front of me, right? So long story short, after these 2 week increments of barely calling him, I'm trying to think about what happened, man. I don't know, man, because it's like interactions where I have with people and just in general, right? I'm real big on just like keeping a cool, calm temperament or working on it. So it's just like I'm not gonna get tough, even if I think I can beat you up or do something to you. I'm not gonna even show you that, right? So I'm being passive in order to get a business deal done. Basically, he has my car. It's a BMW. It's a European car. He knows something. Long story short, I think I had put my foot down like a month and a half later, and I find out it needs an update. So with these BMWs, the difference between these specialists and the people who work for the dealership and just in general with any kind of foreign car is when it comes to hooking it up to the computer and codes and electronics and whatnot, unless you know the plug, keep that, you're not going to have those codes at your shop. It's like BMW gives them specific to the dealers, and your I don't care what machine you got, your little punk machine ain't gonna be able to read these codes. So long story short, he's like, yo, I got the guy coming over with the machine. I put it together. Okay, he had to call the BMW guy, et cetera, bring it over. He hits me. He's like, yo, it took a 5-hour update. A 5-hour update. I'm open to it. I looked it up. It's possible. He does nothing else to the car. I go pick the car up. First flag on the play, like. And I understand how these shops work, right? One guy probably does electronics. One guy probably does like, I don't know, the water pumps and things. One guy probably does engine work, et cetera, et cetera. But obviously they didn't communicate because my cover for one of my fuse boxes is in my back seat. Mamba's dog net thing is in the back seat and unzipped like it was broken. I look under the hood and it's like a piece of the rubber insulation is just laying there. So that was the first flag. I'll probably get within a mile of my house, engine overheated. I took it back. He knew for what I paid him, he couldn't have just done an update. So at this point, I went back up there with a thermostat I bought myself. I told him replace the water pump, right? Which is what he probably should have did in the first place. I know how these things work. He wanted to get a little bread, et cetera, et cetera. He hits me back like, yo, the fan's dead. Mind you, y'all know I'm a nerd. He don't know I'm medicine ball, but I done been researched it. I've heard my fan. Even when I picked it up the first time, I've seen it. No problem with the fan. Yeah, but the fan cost $900. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, he didn't get much bread off of me. If he puts the water pump in, he already promised me that the labor from that little, what he charged me for the update is going to be, applied as a credit. He got to get some bread out of me. Replace the fan, the water pump, thermostat. Thank you, Lord. Car's back, ladies and gentlemen. So, like, the first time I got my car, I think I was hitting my peoples up when I was pulling out of the of the shop, right? Man, I didn't even hit nobody and tell them I had a car until like after 2 solid trips on the expressway, et cetera, et cetera. Now, episode 413, pure joy. I can say it now. I've prayed. I've thought about it. I'm not doing it in a boastful way, right? I just came off of a 40-day fast. On day 38 of my fast is when he called me and told me my car was ready the first time. The fast was over in 40 days, technically, with my, well, I'm not even gonna put her out there, but like, I counted as 46 because the second time I got my car is when it worked. Now, mind you, I had some things go on with my tax preparer. I'm gonna shout them out, man. I don't care. Manning Tax Solutions, they now in the Better Business Bureau have an unanswered complaint. Long story short, he paid me for like a rack, right? I'm not gonna say I'm gangster, but just like I was so upset, I realized if I would have had got my car at that time, who knows, right? So the fast, I'm going with this thing at work. And this is building up on this episode, right? First time in my life I caught a Kobe. I'm a manager virtual. I got 24, really 25 reps who are grown adults working from home. Y'all just think about that. Y'all have heard the stories. If not, go back and check the previous episodes. But all of that to say, like I said, merch coming. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok. Got my TikTok popping. Snapchat. Follow Mamba at that guy Mamba, etc., etc. Let's continue to build on this. So during this 40-day fast, and I'm not gonna get too deep into it, but I went through growth, life as a human, but more specifically for me, spiritual growth, right? And it got me to thinking. So I'm in a fraternity. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I went through a process, right, that I volunteered for that, was cool, right? And it was a 14-week process, and I'm trying to think about how to say this on the fly and just be cool. But long story short, in retrospect, I had the opportunity after I made it into my fraternity to be one of the people bringing other people in, right? I don't know what y'all heard, but y'all could kind of put it together. And I understood it was reinforcement, right? So we talking about growth, right? Reinforcement. And I'm just using my fraternity as an example, right? If you need somebody to learn something or be able to perform under pressure, right? There's two type of kind of experiences or reinforcements when it comes to life and situation. There's a positive experience, which comes with the reward, which is really entitling, dangerous, a whole bunch of other stuff. And then there are negative consequences, negative reinforcements that come with consequences and fear, which, as I'm speaking about my fraternity, just follow me. Life, a majority of the time, lives off the lather of those two. Negative reinforcements where there's consequences, and thus you may have some fear, right? So in the fraternity, I went through a lot of situations where I would just say that, like, and I don't want to relate it to the military or anything, but just like suppression of like auditory senses and still being able to perform detailed specific things, right? Fast forward. How you gonna do that step show in front of 2,000 people and remember those steps with your adrenaline going if you can't stand and go through this process and spit this information? I get it. Me getting the chance also to send people through, which for any kind of organization is very important, because if you're not the right type of person, it's just going to be an abuse of power. It's too easy. It's right there for you to abuse, right? So in retrospect, it really reveals a lot about you, but it's just like, you have to understand, like I do now being in management as well, like when you're leading people through that process, and I'm talking about the fraternity, as long as you keep them, you're in that process with them. So think you in college. You can't go on a date. Yeah, you think it's cool to try to put somebody through a process and have a power trip? Nah, you can't go on a date. You got to be secretive and go wherever you got to go. Nah, you got to make sure this, I rest my case. So my fraternity got me to understand really quickly, and this might not even be right, but y'all know how I do with medicine ball. I'm going to make it make sense for me so I can be able to get through, because once anything physical happens, oh yeah, I'm in this joint, right? But I understood the negative reinforcement was to apply a sense of urgency, right? To learn information, detailed information quickly, in which in retrospect, man, I got to carry myself a certain way with this fraternity. The step show was the smallest part. You got to keep certain grades. You got to carry yourself. You got to pay dues. You got to remember, so forth and so on, right? So building off of that, right? Growth. Always related to video games. I love Final Fantasy. Sonic, when you get the rings knocked out of you because you made a mistake. Final Fantasy, when you could get distracted for years and hours on a side quest that has nothing to do with the mission. It's all about experience. And these reinforcements are important. And when you look at them a certain type of way and change your mindset, you start to understand what it means in the scripture when he says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when you face trials of many kinds, right? Because you know the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish his work in you so you could be complete and lacking for nothing. Now, I'm no saint, and my thing is, like, I could tell you like darn near every scripture, every story and where it is, but I don't know it off the top of my head. I'm probably gonna have to do an edit, but I want to say it's like James 1:2-4, right? But what does he mean by that? Consider it pure joy when you have trials. Let's get into it deeper. Now, depending on where you're watching or listening to this podcast, you're going to get a different cut of after what I just did on the intro, because I went back and cross referenced, and he's true to his character, man, because long story short, Holy Spirit will help you when you need it, when you need to speak. And I did get the chapter and verses right? James 1:2-4, right? I forgot to say this part, man, but this is the most important part. And this is why, for me, it just built more into like growth and why we need to consider it pure joy. After I get my car back, I walk in my house, I look down and see a piece of mail with the BMW stamp on the back of it, and I cannot make this up. Recall for your vehicle, unresolved currently, overheating issues. God is good. Like, think about what I've said about the fast and everything, and I'll get into this more. Yo, hit me up if you want me to get more into like fasting and spiritual warfare humbly. I don't know the most, but I can give you based off of what I learned through my experiences, right? Testing of your faith, right? Building it. It really made me better. It kept me out of trouble, right, with my situation. Save money. Lost a little weight. And those of you who can see me visually, got a haircut now. Humbly, I'm down. And I don't want to boast, but side note, in the scripture, from my recollection, the whole first time it comes into this whole thing about fasting was somebody proving that they could fast and be stronger than warriors in battle afterward, right? But anyway, let's fast forward. But think about that, right? So I'm still building on this because I got all this stuff and I'm glad I wrote it down. So even this podcast is going to be fresher and sound different, a different kind of energy, because consider it pure joy, trials. Long story short, I had my frat brother over here. Shout out to Jay Johnson. It's just Jay. Go check his podcast out. He signed into his podcast program on my computer, and me, I'm going to accept my accountability. I fumbled here as well. Just rushing through, just uploaded my last 2 episodes to his channel. So I'm thinking they out. And so it's 2 weeks in when I go check my email. Shouts out to y'all for letting me know. And they like, yo, did you put out a new episode? I can't find it. And that's when I realized, so due to the algorithm and other commitments, right, I couldn't release them just boom, boom, one after. I had to take the week. So that also taught me kind of to slow down and gave me a chance to get my car together, to become better for the video and be more confident in front of the video, right, et cetera, et cetera. Consider it pure joy. Let's talk about music real quick. And I'm going to bring all this together, man. Long story short, I was in a situation, but boom, today, for those who hablas español, right? I get contact from somebody I had did a beat from, and I realize this in retrospect, but long story short, for those of you who are music heads, he asked me for the stems to the file for the beat that I produced, and he needed me to bounce a certain way. When you do that, and I'm going to try to explain this quickly, you have to go into, I use FL Studio, right? Go into the program, go into the mixer, separate the channels, make sure that all of the plugins are on each channel properly, label each sound, right? Color each sound. You want to look professional, make it look good. Then you have to export it and render it as a WAV file so you can give somebody stems. I was able to do that in about 15 minutes, right? This is a good situation for me. It's financially good, et cetera, et cetera. Consider it pure joy. From that, I immediately be thinking like, man, if this was 5 years ago, that probably would have took me 2 weeks to find out. It's time to get professional, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, man, let me try to get into my BMI. I've been having trouble with it. Going to my BMI, was diligent with it, understand the verbiage a little bit better. Consider it pure joy. Oh, what's this in here once I got into my BMI, right? What's this over here? Royalty statements. Now, mind you, think about what I've been saying this whole program with the fasting and everything. My tax preparer cheated me, period, out of $1,000. Had the car expense, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Consider it pure joy. Even with the music, if I hadn't gone through the hassles and the struggles prior, I would have been able to do that real quick when money's on the line, right? I might have blown medicine ball being impulsive because I'm still human, upset about $1,000, which is really not the money. Humbly, it's the principle, right? Oh, you think I'm soft because I'm being amicable with you, huh? Bro, you went to high school with my brother. Don't do that. Consider it pure joy. It's like a game. Trials are experience points that are needed to get you to the next level. And when it comes to me spiritually and you, if you're a believer, you don't know what God got for you, but you know that He has good works that He has prepared for you in advance to do. You know that His plans are to help and prosper you, not to harm you. And I'm not trying to preach, but I'm just keeping it real. We have to change our mindset. Last thing before I get into one kind of strategy to help us get over this, right? My job, man. I'm not even gonna get into it because I spent 10 minutes just talking about the little funny stories, different personalities, et cetera, et cetera. 24 people virtually when clearly my job description says that, or the company outline says that teams should be between 18 and 20. There are TLs when I have 24 and the people in my org, my TL, shout out to y'all if y'all listening, all got 24, 25 who got 13, 12. I can get upset. I can be like, they're not paying me enough. I could get frustrated. Or, here come the plug, Wisdom app. Go download it in the App Store. It's on all platforms. The Wisdom app. It's like to me, cleaner Clubhouse. I was on Clubhouse. I ain't like how it was going. This one here is a mentorship app. Same kind of platform, right? I simply said to myself, man, if you can't get and speak or chat or try to conduct humbly 24 people, how you gonna get on this Wisdom app, which my second time on there, and talk to 50 people who don't know nothing about you just off the fly? I realize it is an experience points. Consider it pure joy when you have trials of many kinds. Now let me put it in y'all's terms or our terms, because it's gonna level you up so you can deal with the blessings you got ahead. I'm not gonna trip about $1,000. It's a mindset thing to me. I gotta make it make sense so I can be okay with it, right? But how can I possibly fathom running $1 million business and losing 150,000 if I'm tripping about 1,000? It's gonna make me come out my character. I ain't gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. So all of that to bring y'all to the strategy we're gonna get into to help you guys in episode 413. Consider your trials pure joy. And me, at the bare minimum, at the basis, I'm a businessman. I'm going to get what I can out of every situation. And we're going to go from there into this strategy. All right. All right. So, just like I said, if you're a business-minded person, you have to understand one of the first main concepts is you're going to lose. The next concept right after that is soften the amount you lose by, right? So I got to thinking about games and how I wanted to relate this to considering pure joy to, like, life being experience points. And I got to thinking of one of my favorite games, Call of Duty or COD. And I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I'm old school Call of Duty where when you would play online, you could get perks. Follow me. So let me give you an example. One perk was called Sleight of Hand. And if you had that perk on Call of Duty, which is a shooting game, right? If you had that perk, you could reload like 3 times as fast, right? So, building right off of that, they had another perk that was called Scavenger. And when you just look at the perk, it was like, man, who wants this? And the Scavenger perk was that you could pick up ammunition from anybody on the ground. And if you don't think about it, listen to what I'm saying. Anybody, anything, any weapon anybody has dropped, you could pick that up and make it ammunition. If you don't understand, long story short, it would allow you to always make sure you never ran out of bullets. So even though it doesn't seem like much, it's really a crucial perk. So then I got to thinking, man, yeah, scavenger, getting what you can't get out. I was like, so what's the definition of a scavenger, right? And of course, we think about vultures, which I put in my my description of my episode, and I'm looking it up. Man, look at me trying to multitask all of this. Look at the camera and everything. Okay, definition of the scavenger from Merriam-Webster.
A person employed to remove dirt or refuse from the. Okay, that's not a good one. Even though it says a garbage collector or a junk collector. I'm gonna try one more and then I'm just gonna have to freestyle this one off the top, y'all. All right, scavenger. Let's see here. A person or an animal who searches and collects discarded things. So that could be like junk or trash. An animal that feeds on corrode, dead plants, material, or refuse. And when you get down to the nitty gritty of it, that's someone who's making use, right? Or something that's making use of the bare minimum and surviving off of it. Follow my concept. So when we get to life and we have these trials, we have to employ this scavenger perk. What can you get out of it? Again, a lot of people will tell you they entrepreneurs and they business minded, but don't understand this concept. Like I could tell a lot about people who have an LLC versus people who have a business. Bars. Um, let's get into it more. Let me use myself as an example. So even now as I'm recording video, let's speak to video editing, right? So and video isn't gonna get this part, so I'll chop it up, but I gotta keep it going. Video editing. I went ahead and bought Wondershare. And long story short, I don't know if you've been following me when I was speaking on first getting into video editing and using Adobe Premiere Pro. Thanks to me getting smoked and getting beat up by that program, I was able to jump immediately into Wondershare Filmora and have more of a concept and understanding. So I was able to extract the audio immediately, see the different slice, move, transition, which for those of you who do video editing realize how crucial that can actually be, right? Another situation, the car. Man, that taught me to work with what I got. I had to get closer with my dog. It let me look at how I could be a better, parent, right? Get my diet together, right? Because I couldn't go to the grocery store and I didn't want to just go to Uber Eats every day. Plus, I was fasting, right? Helped me keep me out of a rough situation, right? Let's go to my team, getting all these new people at work virtually as I'm still looking. This is good practice. I'm still looking at the camera, but I'm gonna have to. I guess if you listen to the podcast, you'll get the whole thing versus the people who are following the video when I start releasing these, and it gives something different. But yeah, 24 people, and I'm doing the Wisdom app, which I'm gonna be doing later tonight as well, live. So when you guys catch this, once I release it, a lot of you get notifications. Come follow me there, Medicine Ball LS3. But yeah, consider it pure joy. So I'm gonna wrap it up for y'all, man, and tell y'all like this. Our mindset and our understanding, if we stop and think outside of ourselves of the things that is actually happening to us versus what we perceive it, we can see a lot of times we get in our own way. We tell ourselves the biggest lies and we hurt ourselves more than anybody or any circumstance ever could. You have to take what you can get out of it. One thing that's 100% certain, 1,000% guarantee, you could take it to your state senator. You're going to have trials. You can pay off all your bills, hit the lottery, you can catch everything up. I guarantee within 24 to 36 hours, you're going to have something else. But that's what life is about. Problem solving. Think about how redundant, boring, and meaningless life would be if everything was taken care of and we had nothing to do. It's evolution. It forces us to think and get better. And from the spiritual side, it gets you excited if you look at it from that side and consider it pure joy. Perseverance is built by the testing of your faith. And even if you aren't a believer, man, what you go through makes you who you are. Bars, Jada Kiss, shout out to Jada, right? And my whole thing is, let's see what we can get out of it. Because like I said in the other episode, man, in every stress, and I promise you there's a lesson, and that is the blessing. What can you get out of it? On a spiritual level, man, God has a sense of humor. He believes in retesting. And even as I finished this fast, man, I felt myself going through some stuff. And I was like, man, this feels very familiar. Like, hold up. I done been through this trial before. Nah. Consider it pure joy. Get better. There's something in this obstacle or that adversity that if you stick it out and try and don't give up, which is the easiest thing to do, somewhere in your skill set or how you are, something's going to get better. I mean, and I hate really talking about myself so much, but I can use myself like I'm totally a different person organization-wise. Just being in leadership virtually, if I don't stay at this job, any job I go to, if I work for somebody else, I'll never be the same person. My accountability is different. My empathy is different, right? Man, and I can't even remember, but if you've been following since season 1, when I wasn't, like, I started this podcast as a regular agent, I think a specialist at that point, man, I was telling y'all I was crying. And in retrospect, I'm thankful for just what I went through with this job because it pushed me closer to God. And I'm a person who likes streak. I like the proof like we all do, even though God don't owe us no proof, right? Take your victories, even in that. What are the good things that happen? can see clearly where God is moving in my life. And a lot of times when it comes to spiritually believing, the reason we can't is because it's a lack of faith. And we have to understand like what it actually is. It's just knowing it's something you can't see. And sometimes God will give us little blessings, but because it's not what we wanted, we overlook it. Like, oh man, I got a flat tire on my car. Bro, your car didn't blow up while you was on the expressway and flip over 35 times. The heck you mean? Oh man, I got all these extra people on my team. Can you say job security? Like, what are you talking about? Oh man, taxes, he got me for that, Georgia right there. Oh man, can you say, well, at least they got pushed through. I'm not gonna have to worry about business tax, and it's a lesson learned. I got a platform. I could legitimately and businessly just make sure they don't get no more service from my way. But yo, I'm gonna wrap this show. I just wanted to go with the spirit, and I want y'all to consider it pure joy. I promise you, every single obstacle means something you did wasn't right. And when you run into it again, if you want to get it a little bit more correct, you have to look at something and adjust it. These are all jewels, right? These are all bits of experience, right? All these things add up to create something solid. You should be excited the more extraordinary and difficult things you go to, because at the bare minimum, you're going to be a very, very versed person. Another Jada and I'm going to leave it like this. He said, I don't know you, but I know a man or woman becomes a man or woman based on all of the ish that they go through. All right? Yo, I'm going to leave y'all with this, man. Consider it pure joy. Maybe you going through. I challenge y'all. Don't ask why when things happen to you. Ask what. Let's start changing our mindset and being a scavenger and getting what we can out of every situation so that we can be more complete. This has been episode 413, Pure Joy. I love y'all. Stay up. Go follow me. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, all that. Until we get up next week. Yo, if somebody got to hook up on a GoPro, because Mamba is hilarious, man. And there's just so many random moments I can't carry my camera around. I just need to strap a GoPro to me for like a week. Guarantee he'll go even more viral. Y'all holla at me. Yo, y'all stay up. I got some big news coming up, merch coming. I love y'all. Go follow me, like, subscribe. Yeah.